Good morning, everybody. You got quite a few people were waiting on me here today. Got Badger already out there, and Tyre and Nil. Nil, that video you linked to, um, yeah, there is no way I'm playing that on my stream. Okay, that ain't happening. Okay, that just mm-mm, no, 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 no. So, but anyway. I will have to admit, I watched a couple minutes of it, and that first girl's reactions, and then her saying, "Hey, can you please delete this?" Yeah, her gut, she didn't like her gut reaction. So anyway, I'm going to tell you right now, guys. All right, this is past 2 days. I've been in a lot of discussions with friends and with people I don't know online. And I've made some people rather angry at me. And I'm going to go over some of these things, some of these different topics. And some of them are old topics, some of them are new topics, and some are topics that you just sit there and say, what the hell? But that's just the way it's going to be for the day. All right. And we'll start off with an easy one here. A young lady, well, younger than me, let's say, who was a friend of mine. After recent events in our government, she made a very simple post, saying that there should be term limits and age limits for anybody elected to office. And I simply stated I disagreed with her. And the reasons why I disagree, and I can understand why people say, yes, we want term limits for representatives. We don't, the idea that we have Dianne Feinstein in office for 50 years, Mitch McConnell in office for 50 years, Joe Biden in office for 50 years. We've got these professional politicians sitting there in offices for 50 years. And all they've done, for the most part, is feathered their own nest. They're multimillionaires, gotten there off the taxpayer dollar, gotten there off of undercover uh, tactics, gotten there by breaking laws that would send most of us to jail, insider training, and such. I'm just against term limits. I'm against limitations based on upper age. Now, I do agree that 35 is a good minimum age to be president of the United States. I actually think it should be higher. I think it should be about 40 or 45. 45 is the new 35. That's my personal opinion. I mean, I know a lot of dumbass, that when when the Constitution was written, people at 16 years old were getting married, raising families, working farms. Okay. Life was a lot different and people grew up and was a lot more mature back then. Grant, Tyre, I'm not going to disagree with you. 70 or 80 years old is too old to be sitting in Congress. But that's my opinion. That's your opinion. All right. The wonderful thing about living in this country and the founding of this country is, yes, minimum age limits were set, but we are a representational government. We, the people, vote for who we want to represent us. And I do not believe it is right that we should have the ability to vote for the person we want to vote for to represent us, that we believe will represent us to the best of their ability in ways that we want them to, simply because of how long they've been in office or because of their age. Once we start setting these limits, once we start setting limits like that, then where's the next limit going to be? Sean, okay, yeah, the people we voted for have dumbed us down. And whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that the people that we have put into office have dumbed us down? That the people we've put into office has gotten rich off of us? That the people we've put into office are corrupt? Whose fault is it? It's we. It's our fault because we voted for them. We donated to them. If we did not vote for these people, if we did not donate to these people, they wouldn't be in office. But it's our fault because we've done it. We got the government we wanted. We got the government we voted for. And our government, our laws are not there to protect us from ourselves in this particular case. Just like I'm against seatbelt laws, just like I'm against helmet laws, I'm against these laws because these are decisions that we as adults should be making for ourselves and not have the nanny state making for us. If in the middle of a epidemic, you want to go running around without a mask or get shots or anything else, once you're at the age of 18, that's your right. That's your right to make that decision for yourself. And if you're under the age of 18, that's the right of your parents to make for you. Now, this is where we have gotten so used to making the nanny state the default position when it comes to who we put in the government and why we put them there. Because we want the government to look out for us. We want the government to ensure that we have food on our tables. We want to make sure the government says that we can put a roof over our head. We want to make sure the government protects us from ourselves. That's not the government's job. But that's who we voted for because that's what these people promised us. So we voted for them. And we continue to vote for them. Trey Gowdy. I liked Trey Gowdy when he was in office. He was first elected as a representative in 2010. His last elective was 2018. I think it was 2018. I've got to look that up. I've got to re-verify that. But he took himself out of elective office. He didn't get voted out. He decided not to run again. One thing our Congress critters have forgotten, and it's our fault that they've forgotten it, because we haven't forced them to remember it. And how haven't we forced them to remember it? Because we haven't voted them out of office. We keep voting for them, despite their ages, despite their senility. But they've forgotten that they are U.S. citizens first and power brokers second. They're, lawmakers second. That they need to be in that office for a limited time period and then return to private life. But that's our fault because we keep voting them into office. So we get the government we want. We get the government that we've asked for. Now, the young lady that I was talking to about this and the other people in the discussion, they got rather irritated with me. These aren't dumb people. They're not. She retired as a chief master sergeant in the U.S. Air Force. She is smarter than me. She made E9. I retired as an E7 or E6. I retired as an E6. She retired as an E9. So yeah, no, no, no. She made it further than I did. But then I knew I wasn't going to make it to E7 when. But anyway, that's a different story. But she's a very smart woman, very intelligent woman. And the people that agreed with her, people that I know, none of them are stupid people. But they're all sitting there saying, we want term limits on age, based on a person's age. I tell you, I know more stupid people under the age of 50 than I know stupid people over the age of 50. Ty, you're right about that, but I worked with this woman on the flight line, and she was one of the very few women in the Air Force that I worked with personally that, other than her physical strength limitations, I would work with her every day of the week, 7 days a week, and with no problems whatsoever. She was smarter, she was more intelligent, and a better grasp of the uh, functions of every part of the F-15 avionics package than 90% of the people I worked with. She's one of the few people I said knew more about the systems than I did. One of the few. Duck dog. Okay, you're all right. Yes. All right. And while I can see where you come from with that argument about the gentleman farmer, duck dog, I can see where you come from that. All right. But that still then takes away your ability as a voting United States citizen to vote for the person you want to represent you. Good morning, Dar. Yeah, you're definitely the drama's going to be hitting today. If you're talking, I can't hear you. Your mic's not working. But anyway, and you're right, Duck Dog. That's why I use the example of Trey Gowdy.
Well, for
Trey
some
Gowdy
reason
could
I
have
can't
spent
hear
many more
anything that's
years
going
in
on.
in the House of Representatives if he wanted to. You there, Dar?
Oh, there we go.
Ah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, now you can hear me. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
So, what unpopular opinions are you having?
Well, we're starting with the simple one: term limits on Congress critters.
Okay, so what is unpopular about that opinion?
I'm against them. I'm against any type of limitation on either term limits or by age of an elected official, and I don't care if it's your dog catcher or the president of the United States. I'm all right for the simple fact that we as an American people have the right to elect the person to represent us in that position, and it should be not artificially limited simply because of a person's age or how much time they've sat in office. If we do not want a person in office, as a matter of course, I vote against uh, anybody being in the state of Florida. We elect our Supreme Court judges.
Yes, we do.
All right, it's a shall be or shall not be retained in office. They're appointed. Let me rephrase this. They are appointed by this governor and such. Fine. But once they're in office, every term, their shall be retained, shall not be retained is on the ballot. And I look up to see how long each one's been in office, and that determines whether or not I vote shall be retained or shall not. They've been in more than 3 cycles, shall not be retained. I want fresh blood on the Florida State Supreme Court. I do the same thing for elected officials, at least in the primaries.
All right, so here's my argument. I'm in favor of term limits.
Okay, and why do you want to take away the right of the people to vote for the person they want to have to represent them in
I'm not
office?
taking away anybody's rights. The reason why all right, hold on.
All right, and the reason why I say he's taking, that position takes away the right because, you know, I may want Trey Gowdy to run again. And if I want Trey Gowdy to run again and he's willing to run again, I should be able to have the right to vote for Trey Gowdy again. As long as he meets the minimum
Okay,
requirements to be in office.
all right. So here's my argument. This is the reason why the president has a term limit is because when George Washington, our first president, they wanted him to become the king, and we had just fought a war to get rid of kings. And what happens in the case where president, Congress, and all that are there 50, 60, 70, 80 years, whatever the case may be, um, you the old adage of absolute power corrupts absolutely. And because the way people are, they'll just keep voting for the same person or not voting, um, just because it's easy and not a lot of people have time. So now, as far as the age limits go, I'm against age limits, but I am, however, think that there um, should be mental fitness tests because we have people in Congress and other places who are not mentally capable of doing their job.
Okay. All right, now then, got a question for you. I've got a couple of
Yes.
questions for you based on what you just said. All right. We'll start with the last one first. Who administers this mental competency test, and how do you ensure that there is no bias? Could you imagine somebody? Uh, let's just use Trump.
Yeah,
You
because they're
know,
saying he
he
wasn't
gets
mentally
in there
fit,
to
right?
take a mental competency test. I mean, we already know, like the FBI and the CIA and half a dozen and damn near every alphabet agency within the federal government was actively working against him. So
Well,
how do
yeah,
you ensure that
and they
whatever
made
reports you
movies about
get
him
back?
not being mentally competent and all that. I've seen all that. Yeah, and seeing that's the problem right there with that whole theory. Now, so even though I do support term limits for Congress, I know it will never happen. All right, because Congress is not going to vote to limit their stay, and most people go, "Yeah, I'm for it," but not in the case of my guy. So therefore, it will never happen. I know that. I fully understand that. Doesn't mean I can't support it because two terms would be good and it would help get rid of the political class that we have. So that's the reason why I say it. And I'm fully aware it's never going to happen.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's
now,
just my personal thoughts. So,
and let's not forget the reason why we have the two-term limit on the president. It's
it's
because the
not been
Republicans
there
got
that
pissed
long.
off about a Democrat holding the office for 16 years.
Yeah.
All right, that's the only reason why we have limitations on the president, because the Republicans got pissed off about it. They couldn't win a national election for the presidency because of Roosevelt. So again, and let's see, your first, and then again, I'm going to ask you, why should we eliminate a person's right to vote for who they want to vote for,
You're not
as long as they
eliminating
meet
anybody's right.
the minimum requirements and are willing to run for office?
Well, we so right now we have term limits on our governors. You're not taking anybody's away anybody's right to vote for the person you want.
Really?
So
So
I just don't see that.
if a person is forbidden by law for running because they've already ran twice and elected twice, and the people,
So
let's use
that
Florida
okay.
here.
So that means if you have a term limit, that means they don't meet the requirement to be the governor because they've already been the governor. They've served their term. So therefore, they no longer meet the minimum requirement. That's how that works. So you're not denying anybody's rights. Now, the thing of it is, we have primaries, and that's where you get to choose who's going to run. That's so you are still have that right to vote for whoever you want. That person who's exhausted their term is no longer meets the requirements.
I So you're saying the minimum requirement to hold office should be having not held office before?
No, if there's a term limit, I'm not saying it should be, could be, would be. I'm saying it is. So if in the state of Florida, right, you can um, you can only be the governor so many times,
Right, 2 terms.
and once you do your 2 terms, you no longer meet the minimum requirements because you've termed
No,
out.
that's not minimum requirement. That's a maximum requirement.
It's still a requirement. You no longer meet
But
those
but there's
requirements.
there's a difference between a minimum requirement. Minimum requirement, not be a convicted felon, and being of a certain age. That is minimum requirements.
Yeah, but you still have requirements. Not minimum, not maximum, not anything. You have requirements. Once you've termed out, you no longer meet the requirements to hold the office. Plain and simple. That's how that works. That's the reason we have term limits. Which
I see. I did.
you can't
I
suddenly go and take away all term limits on things that already have term limits. Now you're
see.
changing
I
laws, you're changing precedents.
I
So
disagree with the idea that a minimum requirement also includes a maximum number of terms in office.
it's a
Those two
requirement.
words, the two categories don't match up.
It's a requirement. Once you've termed out, you no longer meet the requirements to be that thing anymore. Now, in most states, like in the state of Virginia, for instance, you can be the governor as many times as you want. You just can't do it consecutively. So you serve your term, you go away. Now you can come back later and be governor again. You just can't do it consecutively. And the reason that was put in was way back in the olden times. Way back in the olden times, right? People who ran, they did their civic duty, then they went back to their farm or to their business and ran their business. And
Which is
the
ideal.
thing,
I
and
fully agree that is ideal. You go back to living under the laws that you passed.
right. So, but
I
it's not even that. It's just that, you know, back in the day, people had homes to run and they had things to do. And serving in the government was considered civic duty. So they did their duty and they went back to what they were doing beforehand. And now we have this political class that all they do is be in government. And government's grown so big and so that you have all these problems because of that. You know, if you didn't have like, you know, multi-term people all over the place, you know, in 60-year Congress people, it would be harder to weaponize the FBI against citizens. So
and I'm not
it
going to
would
disagree with you on
be
that.
harder to do a lot of things that the government does to us. Because right now, you know, we no longer live in a representative republic. Those people up there, you know, in politics, they no longer represent us. We no longer live in a representative republic. We sure as shit don't live in a democracy. So the only way you can really rein back their power is to impose term limits on them. And you're not taking away anybody's rights by doing that. I don't see that argument.
And once again, I'm going to say that, and I still believe this is my honest to my core belief here. One, we've destroyed our form of government by reelecting the same people to office time after time after time. Mitch McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden. Okay, these are all people that have served way too much time sitting in seats of power within our government. I'm not going to argue against that because I firmly, to the core of my being, believe it.
Yeah.
However, I'm still going to fall back on the position that, as you know, that is our responsibility as the American voter to say, no, you've been in office too long. It's time we vote you out and vote in somebody new. This is one of the, I haven't expressed a lot of opinions here on the presidential election on the Republican side. Yeah, there's the idiot class there running like Fat Boy, all right, and you have your political animal Mike Pence. You have your newcomer Vivek. You have your semi-experienced and politically political lightning rod Trump. You've got your uh, POC um, min- female minority and Nikki Haley. So there, there's a lot of different people that running on the Republican side for office. And there's some of each one of them that I like, and some of each one of them I dislike. My uh, I want to get even with the Democrats and the swamp of DC side of me wants to put Trump back in office as an fu to everybody to uh, just Democrats in general, the progressives, the Fulton County, the Barr, uh, and the rest of these assholes. All right. But there's also part of me, a large part of me that says that I'd like to see Vivek in there because Vivek says a lot of things that Trump said his first term prior to being elected, running for office. And Vivek is bringing a much younger mindset to the government, could bring a much younger mindset. There's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley has said a lot of smart things in the past, but she's proven herself to be, in my opinion, having said too many stupid things here more recently. But all that, one way or another, we will get the government that we vote for,
Pretty much.
as long as we have, and then again, there's that, as long as we have an honest election, no thumbs on the scales, as has happened in previous elections. Not necessarily YouTube. I'm not necessarily talking about presidential, even though JFK's there was thumbs on the scales in JFK's elections. That's been proven. But we have a lot of mayor and governor elections which have proven to have thumbs on the scales. A lot of local elections have been proven, even recently, even in the last election, have proven to have thumbs on scales. So, you know, I'm not necessarily talking about presidential elections. YouTube, but in a whole though, and I still believe that it is up to us as the American people who vote, and again, we don't teach civics in school anymore. In high school, we don't teach people these kids how to sit down and look at what's going on, the past in American politics from a neutral, unbiased aspect, the dry facts of politics. Because what politics is taught now in schools is, again, heavily biased. And again, this is as a result of who we as the American people have voted to put in our school boards.
Well, it's not only that, but it's also the fact that many parents have disengaged. They go, well, my kid's gone to school, they're getting an education. Nobody tells, part of the responsibility is on the parents to teach kids this stuff. Part of your responsibility is to teach your kids these things. And a lot of parents do not do that.
The And again, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I spent a lot of time teaching my son about politics because he come home with some of the most stupid ideas, in my opinion, from school, from what he was taught at school. So him and I sat down and had a lot of discussions. Him, me, and the wife sat down. Him and I and the wife would sit down and have a lot of discussions about politics and our opinions and our views and why we think about certain ways. And I'm happy with him and I still don't always agree, but he's at least got more than, well, I feel he actually has. I thought about this when we do discuss it. And he shows me the facts and whatever, that whether I did, give the same weight as he does to some things is different, but that's all beside the point. Vivek, Duck Dog says Vivek's naive about the way the 535 club works. Again, I mean, look how naive Trump was about the way that club works. He couldn't get
Yep.
hardly anything through the House, even when Ryan and the Democrats or the Republicans had control of the House, because Ryan was such an anti-Trumper. But okay, here's the next thing that I've got some heartburn about. This one here is really going to probably piss some people off at me. I don't know.
Throw it out there and we'll see.
Well, I'm getting
Well, if
ready
it
to.
pisses me off, then it'll piss off quite a few other people.
Okay, here we go. This here's Florida Representative Fine. He was giving a speech, and some neo Nazis, self proclaimed neo Nazis or claimed to be neo Nazis, uh, ambushed him in a way, protesting him and such.
Literally ran up to me with a camera.
Fine is Jewish and is the one who helped create the state's new law aimed at hate crimes.
Yeah, I may introduce a new law that makes it legal to punch a Nazi.
He says.
All right, that right there. I am going to introduce, or I may introduce, a new law to make it legal to punch a Nazi. Now,
It's stupid.
to pass a law, or to claim you're going to think about passing a law, to make it legal to punch somebody, even somebody as despicable as a Nazi, which most people in the United States will agree, most people in the world agree, being a Nazi is despicable. But so is being a communist. So is being a socialist. They're all one and the same, just different leaders. So if you want to make it legal for me to punch a Nazi, or for you to go up and punch a Nazi, shouldn't it also then be right for me to go up and punch a socialist or a communist? Does that put Bernie Sanders at threat of being punched because he's a communist? Excuse me, he's democratic socialist. Or any other elected official simply, because I disagree with their politics. And that's what this is coming down to. As much as I disagree with the politics and the opinions of these people, they're still their opinions. And to say, well, they attacked him because he's Jewish. Okay, fine. How about all the pro-Palestinians in the country out there protesting right now? Are we going to go out there and punch all of them because they're protesting against Jews and Jewish people? They want to see the eradication of the Jewish people. Are we going to lock them up because their beliefs are despicable? And then whose idea of what is despicable are we going to use as a baseline? To the leftists, I'm despicable. Hillary Clinton called me despicable because I'm a Trump supporter. Remember her bag of
Yeah.
despicables?
Deplorables.
Deplorables.
Basket of deplorables.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Tired to find Nazis. Hey, can I go up and just punch somebody because they're Antifa? Somebody dressed up in all black and protesting. How about that? I go out and punch them because they're, I disagree with them. Just because, not because they've broken a law, but because I disagree with them. Or because they did something I didn't like. Yeah, exactly, Sean. Now Hillary wants to send all of us, everybody that voted for Trump, to re-education camps.
So, yeah, see, I'm totally against any kind of law like it's legal to punch a Nazi or whatever because I agree with you because that's a slippery slope. So it's legal to punch Nazis. How do you, well, first, how do you determine they're a Nazi? Are they, um, then what's to keep them from going, well, it's okay to punch terrorists. It's okay to punch this group or that group or whatever. What is the next? It's going to be legal to punch supporter of somebody I don't like. Exactly. So, and when you start just randomly punching people, then that escalates quickly. Because the next thing you know, the other side will start carrying a baseball bat. Punch me, I'll hit you with a baseball bat. And then you get total chaos.
I mean, okay, I reposted a lot of things off of Twitter this morning, off of X.
Yeah.
Let me show some of the things here. Let's just go down some of the stuff here. I reposted. I reposted them specifically for this stream.
I haven't even been on X yet this morning.
Okay. Do I go and punch this guy because of what he's wearing and who he is supporting by the looks of his outfit he's got on?
I just more like laugh at him.
Okay. How about this? State Department posting online warning against retaliating for Hamas's terrorist attacks on Israel. Do we go up and punch everybody in the state, whoever, the people in the State Department? Do we go punch Blinken? because he said that Israel shouldn't retaliate against the terrorist attacks. Because then now you're supporting the terrorists. Okay. Where's the rest of them at? Damn it. Anyway, I mean, I'm not going to go searching for them. Do we go and the group that was holding up that flag, Queers for Palestine, do we go up and punch them because they're supporting Palestine who are anti-Jewish? Because I mean, evidently, if you're supporting the Palestinian terrorists, if you're supporting Hamas, then you're supporting terrorists, and the terrorists are obviously anti-Semitic. They're no more, they're just as anti-Semitic, if not more so, than a neo-Nazi is.
Pretty much.
All right, but if you get the neo-Nazi, but the laws that they want to push against neo-Nazis, they're not going to push them against the any Palestinian supporter. So, what degree of anti-Semitism is acceptable? Either anti-Semitism is either acceptable or it's not. You can't have degrees of. But honestly, these Palestine has killed more Jewish people than and Hamas than what Hitler did.
Yep.
They've caused more death and destruction than Hitler did. But you're not seeing the newspapers. You're not seeing ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, or MSNBC out there, bad mouthing the uh, pro-Palestinian protesters as they would if that had been a neo-Nazi group out there. And I'm not supporting the neo-Nazis. Let me get that straight. I am not supporting any side of this. But what I am saying is that, and again, this is where my unpopular opinion comes in. If you are going to sit there and fully condemn one group because of opinion, why aren't you condemning the other groups who hold the exact same opinion and are actually out there killing people today, who are living up to their hatred for somebody based upon their religion or their heritage, their ethnic
Yep.
origins? You can't tell me that you are going to be a supporter of the Palestinian and Hamas and these attacks on Israel because you're a good person, but condemn neo-Nazis. Because they're both the same ideology. The eradication of Jews. It's just the neo-Nazis just want them out of the country. They don't want to necessarily kill them. Palestinians want to kill them. From the river to the sea. Now, that's not a just a saying. That's not just rhetoric. They want to eradicate Israel off the face of the earth. They want to eradicate Jews off the face of the earth. And if you're going to come right down to it, that's the Muslims. Every Muslim that believes in their books as they are written in the Quran, as is written, and on the subsequent writings that are all tied in. They believe in the eradication of the Jewish people. That is part of their faith. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not a expert. I don't follow the ins and outs of the different sects of the Muslim religion because as far as I know, there's only two major sects: the Sunnis and the
Shia.
what, Shia, right? But I don't believe either one of them, you know, believe in the living peaceably with Jews. I don't believe there's any sects out there that say that part of the Hadithas is wrong, or that parts of the Quran is wrong, where it says, uh, "Look, there's a Jew hiding behind me. Come kill him." I don't support neo Nazis, right? But again, where is the equal condemnation across the board here? This Florida representative fine, he got zero pushback in the news from anybody that interviewed him over his comment. He was praised for it. He got zero pushback on it because, by God, it's popular. It's a good thing to want to punch a Nazi. I saw people wearing T-shirts talking about this, saying "punch a Nazi." Again, I don't agree with what they say. I don't agree with their belief system. But I think, but rather than punching them, it's educational. But
Yeah.
they still have the right to believe what they want to believe, as long as they don't take that belief and turn it into action. You can be as big of a racist, homophobe, whatever. You can hate me to the core of your being. And as long as you don't take any actions against me, I don't care. I don't care how you feel about me. It's how you act to me that I care about. Because those are two different things.
Yes, they are. So yeah, we both agree that punching Nazis is stupid and shouldn't be legal. So
It just, but you see why I'm getting a little upset about this morning. This is why I titled my thread the stream the way I did today. Because there's going to be some people that they're not going to understand the point I'm trying to make. They're not going to understand that there is a difference between not liking someone, between having certain beliefs. We accept it for Muslims. We accept it for Muslims and for the Palestinian protesters. Oh, they hate the Jewish people. We accept it. We're watching them protest in the streets, and the media isn't sitting there condemning them for protesting in the streets, supporting the Palestinians and the Hamas. There's nobody out there trying to round them up and put them in jail. But if that had been a group of neo-Nazis out there doing it, all hell would be being raised. President Biden would have been out there, and every Democrat would have been out there, and every Republican would have been out there. Uh, don't get between them and that microphone and camera. Don't get between them and that telephone and the nearest reporter to the New York Times or the Hill or the Wall Street Journal. condemning the actions. But when I went through this morning looking at headlines, I don't see any headlines out there about any politicians condemning the pro-Palestinian protesters. And this is what, 3 days now?
Pretty much.
So, again, I you, you sit here and wonder what's going. I sit here and I look at what's going on, and yeah, I have my own beliefs about it. I believe Israel should be attacking with everything they've got. And I believe that we should be withdrawing every penny, every ounce of support that we've been giving the Ukraine and giving it over to Israel to defend themselves. Because according to some of there's some pretty serious conspiracy theories out there that I've seen over the past 24, 48 hours, that a lot of these weapons being used by Hamas come from the Ukraine, bought off the black market. That these
Yeah,
were weapons that we sold to, gave to, loaned to Ukraine, and they've ended up in Palestinian hands, in the Hamas's hands.
well, I'm not sure that they come from the Ukraine, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they came out of Iraq, where we left all that shit behind.
Oh yeah, that's another one going out there.
That wouldn't surprise me in the least bit, to tell you the truth.
But like I said, these are thoughts that are out there. I have no way, and I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying they're out there. And would I be shocked to find out that weaponry that we gave to the Ukraine didn't find their ways into the Palestinian hands? Because my honest opinion, anybody who thinks Ukraine isn't that there aren't people within Ukraine who aren't even more corrupt than our own politicians, I think you're crazy as hell.
We
And
know
that
for a
would they be
fact.
willing to sell our munitions we gave to them to someone else to feather their own nest? I would not be surprised to find out that was true.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
So these are all, yeah. Allegedly, according to the Pentagon, that's not true. Yeah, Sean, but we've all we've I'm used to the Pentagon line, to the official spokesman for the Pentagon line. I'm used
to
to
everybody
generals
lying to me.
lying to the public. Yeah, we had generals lying to Trump,
Yep.
and they got praised for it afterwards.
Yeah, we had generals going behind Trump's back too.
Exactly. So no, I don't trust anything coming out of any government agency. I don't trust a damned word coming out of this government. And it's going to take, I don't know if they'll ever be able to rebuild confidence. Back when I was active duty, I had a lot of confidence in what my leadership told me. I had a lot of confidence that they didn't lie to me when I was active duty. Now, I don't trust a damn word that comes out of any of their mouths, because nobody that has been caught lying to the American people, nobody that was caught betraying their oaths, were punished for it. And it's just not Trump. I mean, this has been since Obama. that this has been since Obama. Not that it was that great under Clinton too, but that's beside the point.
This is true.
I mean, and just to go back, I saw a major, the youngest person appointed as a commander of a unit, as a major, usually a position held for a lieutenant colonel. And he didn't have a line number for lieutenant colonel. He was a major. He had not been promoted upwards yet, and just waiting to put on his oak leaves. He got a little overindulged at the officers club one night, made a couple of comments about Clinton, and within 30 days he lost his command. And that's quick. That's quick for somebody to lose their command. Because that usually takes a lot longer than that. Because when an officer loses a command position, such as that, that's usually a death knell to their career.
Pretty much.
So, anyway, like I said, guys, let's see here. Every bill should be emailed and put on a site that's going to be up for debate and they want signed into the law.
I agree.
Sean,
that's the thing. American people should be able to read those bills before they pass them. And the biggest thing they could do in Congress to help the American people is make the congressmen live by the rules they pass for the rest of us.
go. Well, I tell you, I'd rather see Congress go back to single issue bills.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If Congress had to live by every rule that they passed, we would not have Obamacare. Because remember, Congress was exempt from that.
That's right.
So we wouldn't have Obamacare. We probably have a lot of other rules that we would not be having to put up with. Hold on a second.
No, I would love to see is everything go back to single item bills, especially funding. You want to fund the federal government, then no omnibus bills.
Yeah, just fund the government and move on, right? I agree, but with that, if they did single issue bills, we'd be much better off. And the thing of it is, though, if they had to put up each bill that they were up for a vote for the American public to read, give us a couple days, right? And and people saw what they were actually doing, believe me, they would go to single issue bills so fast and make your head spin.
Oh, yeah. Even when I was in high school in 1978, my senior year, I had one requirement class. It's a full year long. So early graduations were basically non-existent at my high school because they had an American government class. It ran the full year. And we got into about riders. And I shook my head back then. How in the hell can this be right? How in the hell can you put into legislation about the health care of animals and put a rider on that bill that funded $500,000 for the study of sea monkeys? The two things have nothing in common. If you want to,
true.
But they had.
Like
they put those. I'm sorry.
That's just like those funding for the bridge to nowhere and all that kind of stuff. they do that. They hide stuff in these bills because they know the American public isn't all that interested, and they do it. So, so what'll happen is, let's say the Republicans want to pass a bill for stiffer sentencing of violent crimes. They know the Democrats won't vote for it, so they'll offer like Nazi Pelosi or one of them say, "Hey, look, we'll fund this pet project in San Francisco if you sign on to this bill." And that's the reason they do it. So that way, Nazi Pelosi can save face and go, yeah, even though we voted for this, but look, I financed this thing here in San Francisco that's going to create jobs. And that's the reason it got started. Problem is now it's just like everything else they do, they get away with it and they start taking it to extremes. And I'm not going to put that on just the Democrats. I'm saying that's everybody does that. And it's not just one party over the other. It's both parties doing that shit.
Yeah,
And the only way,
there's
oh,
an
go ahead.
organization that puts out a congressional pig book, the Citizens Against Government Waste.
Yeah.
And I got looking through this the other day. I was in one of those moods to look through it. And, like uh, Pelosi put in something like $5 million for redesigning a archway of some sort or an entrance. They want 3 million. AOC put in $3 million to study, not to actually do it, but to study whether or not to sink a tug out in the middle of the bay there in New York, and what the ecological damage would be. Those kind of studies have already been done. You know whether or not if you sink a tug, sink anything, what you got to do to make sure it doesn't harm the environment. That's no longer a question. There is so much out there and it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans put the same kind of crap in there. And they're all put in as riders. Earmark spending. And earmark spending, there's a lot of people who are for and against, there's arguments on both sides on earmark spending.
Yep.
Argument for, you know exactly where that money's going. It can't be spent for anything else. Like this 20 miles of wall down in Texas that Biden's finally putting up. And he's not putting it up because of the number of people coming across the border illegally there. No! He's putting it there because it's actually part of the law, even though he's waiving 26 other laws so that he can obey that one law. That's political math.
Yeah. And, like I've said before, say it again, say it 100 more times, say it 150 more times. The president is supposed to be just a figurehead. His only real job is to enforce the laws of the United States. It's his only real job. His job is not to create jobs or, decide how the economy works or none of that shit. His job is to enforce the current laws. That's what the president's supposed to do. So the president's really basically just a figurehead. It shouldn't matter so much who the president is. But over time, Congress has ceded more and more power to the executive branch, to the president. And now we're in this pickle where we have these all-powerful presidents, and they shouldn't be. they shouldn't be able to sign an executive order, stop building that wall and start selling shit off. Stop that
Oh,
pipeline,
yeah,
that
he
kind of
sold
thing. It
three
should never
hundred
happen.
million dollars worth of material that was sitting there ready to be put up for the fence along the southern border for $2 million. That's what this administration did. Three
Yep.
got 2 million for $300 million worth of material. And now, would you be surprised if he has to go out and buy more materials for this 20-mile stretch? It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
No, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
But what else did I have here on my list of things?
And so we don't go and see, that's part of the problem too. Is like you look at like Lindsey Graham and some of these other people that have been in Congress for 40 plus years. Nobody has the will to go, you know what? We need to vote this guy out and get somebody different in there. Nobody has the will to do it. They just go, well, he hasn't screwed us over yet. He's done a lot of good things for our state. So we'll just, keep him in there. Because like I said, most people don't vote in the midterms. And a lot of people that do, they just check, oh, he's the incumbent. Yeah. And move on with their lives.
Yeah, that's well the party group. I'm voting for party. And most people who vote in the midterms are either the elderly
Yep.
or uh, very politically motivated.
Yep.
The 25% that hardcore support each party. So, and while again, and I'm glad I was never one of these people that said the old should never vote, because now I'm in that group of old.
Yes, you are. You're old
Okay. But,
and crabby.
oh yeah, I was telling the wife the other day, I was, or no, it was yet, may have been yesterday. I'm sitting here and my security system went off on my, uh, oh, by the way, yesterday, Sheriff's Department pulling up my driveway, and I shut down the stream rather abruptly because of that.
Yeah.
They actually were up here to talk to me to see if my security system caught something that had gone on over at a neighboring business, because my cameras point out towards the road. One of my cameras does. So they want to see if I caught any vehicles or people. So unfortunately, I didn't catch anything that happened on there that would have been any good, because the lights don't kick on and everything unless it's within my driveway or on my property. But anywho, um, here. Okay, here is a story that popped up the other day, and let's see if I can find this story here again. It's something I wanted to that I was not aware that there's been a group of quote unquote astronauts experimenting on a Mars trip. What it would take to live on Mars or a trip to
Yeah.
Mars.
They've been doing that for a while because um, one of the presidents, I can't remember which
Oh,
one,
oh,
wanted
this
to
is
go
an
to
old
Mars.
story from 2021.
Yeah, they've been doing this for years. It's been going on for a
Why am I
while.
just now find? Oh, I thought this was a more recent story. Well, then to hell
No,
with
it's been
this. I
going on
mean,
for a while because one of the presidents, I'm trying to remember which one. I can't remember if it was Obama or somebody said that they wanted to go to Mars. Um, so I remember back in 2020 or Elon Musk talking about it.
I thought this was a more recent story about
No,
some
it's
problems that they had.
no, it's been going on for a while.
And okay,
Yeah, because
well,
they said,
hell,
we've been to the moon and everything, so we, want to be the first to make it to Mars.
at the high
'Cause-
seas habitat of Mauna, Mauna, Mauna Lao, Mauna.
all right.
I have no idea. No. 6 men and 6 women when forced to live in close quarters for 12 months. So, what would you expect some of the,
Sounds like Westpac.
what would you expect problems to be? Obstacles
Well,
as they put them.
I don't know, but I'm kind of figuring living in close quarters like that, there will be either lots of babies or lots of arguments.
Yep, that would be an issue. A lot of birth control, which would not be dependent upon the voluntary taking of medications, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right, that'd be one of the first things, and then just interpersonal relationships. I mean, could you imagine being in an area smaller than your living room for 12 months with 12 other people? The only privacy you could get would be possibly inside of a cocoon. Remember like inside of a sleeping bag?
Yep.
That's that would be enough to drive me up the wall. I
Yeah.
really
Most
do.
people.
Um, and I mean that's almost worse than being in solitary confinement.
In some respects, would be. Other respects, would be better, but
Petty squabbles would blow up, and enter personal relationships, sexual tension,
yep.
uh, just you know, I don't know about you, but like my wife and I finally come to an agreement. I do not load the dishwasher. Period. I don't load the dishwasher, and I don't do lawn. I do not wash clothes. I can take clothes out of the washer and put in the dryer, but I'm not allowed to wash clothes because she does not like the way I wash clothes. She doesn't like the way I put dishes in the dishwasher. No matter what I do it wrong.
When we first got married, I did all the laundry.
So, oh, for years I did all the laundry. But as soon as we got, but then that was when I was going to the laundromat. But once we got a washer and dryer in the house, and all of a sudden I didn't know how to do laundry anymore. So, and uh, could you imagine the pecking order issues? Because there's always going to be the cock of the rock. You've always got that one person who's nominally whose personality is more forceful.
Yep.
And regardless, and even in the military, you get three people of the same pay grade there. Uh, Ostensibly, nobody outranks anybody else, and nobody's in a technical leadership position
Yeah,
because,
and they'll sit there and argue about who's the senior guy. Yep.
right, who should be in charge, who should be the one making the final decision, rather than just getting stuff done. You've always got that one and not all of them. It's always usually just one or two people, depending on how large of a group it is. The smaller the group, the less likely that is to happen. At least that's my experience. But yeah, I don't know if I could handle, and then just not having privacy. Now, you don't always feel like shaving.
Well, as
You
long
get,
as someone's not watching me take a dump, I really don't care.
and then, I'm that guy that when I get up in the morning, don't talk to me until I've got at least half my cup of coffee in me. Give me 15, 20 minutes of silence. No
Uh,
televisions, no radios, no nothing for the first 15, 20 minutes that I wake up.
oh,
All I
you
want,
would hate being around me then.
I just want pure silence.
Nope, I don't play that game.
Oh, you're that guy that's got to crank up. You're like my wife. You got to turn everything on as soon as you wake up.
No, don't turn everything on, man. I either I go first thing I do when I get up is I go and make coffee, and then I turn on some. Most of the time, I listen to Monkey in the morning when I first get up, and yeah, just go do my stuff. Then I'm usually out and about. Have my have like 3 or 4 mile run before I even have my coffee.
As I get up, I start my coffee. I feed the dog and cat. Let the dog out if he wants to go out. By the time that's done, the my coffee's done, and I sit down at the kitchen table and just
See, I'm one
sit
of
there
those
and sip on my
annoyingly chipper
coffee.
people in the morning.
I just sip on my cup of coffee. I don't turn on the cell phone. I don't turn on a computer. I don't turn on nothing until at least half of my first cup of coffee is gone.
No, not me. I'm out and about. I'm annoyingly chipper. I mean, I'm saying hi to everybody.
Oh, 30 years, 20 years ago, I was that way.
Well, I'm still that way.
Now, when I was in my
Don't even.
40s and even my early 50s, you get up and hit the ground running, but not now. I mean, I get up now and I just want to enjoy the peace and quiet. That's one of the reasons why I get up before the wife, at least a half hour before the wife gets up in the morning. Because that way, she gets up and the first thing she does is turn on the radio.
Yeah.
And
See.
then when she's done back in the bedroom, after getting showered and dressed and everything, she comes out. Next thing she does is turn on the television. And it's like, oh God, there goes my peace. My peace is gone. So, did I get the retract? Lazel, no, I did not get the retractable vampire fangs. Honestly, I forgot about them. You're Oh, Neil's playing cameraman now, huh? let's see, what kind of stuff are you doing for cameramen? Or is that same link you did or you posted earlier? About yeah. Oh, you recorded that? Okay. Uh, someone wrote an article why women should be the ones to go to the Mars and stuff. Man, yeah, yeah, I've seen the articles like that in the past.
Let them go. Knock yourself out.
Uh,
Have fun.
I don't think that you can get a group of women to survive that long together. I think there'd be death on the ship. I really truly do. I,
You gotta admit it'd be an interesting experiment though.
I've never known a group of women that could get together and work together without. You've watched Survivor,
Yeah, unfortunately.
okay? Remember when they had the two different groups for the first couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and the way the women fought and bickered, and uh, one week it'd be this clique, these three women were in this clique. The next week, those same three women were in three different cliques.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, same thing in Hell. I haven't watched Hell. I watched Hell's Kitchen for the first time, Ramen, here this weekend, and yeah, I mean it's like okay, the women's group are acting just like I remember women's group acting before. So yeah, it's that's always a that was always a major thing there. Uh, yeah, that link Neil posted. Um, there's some interesting reactions to the questions being asked. This is a man, or actually in this case, it's a woman on the street interviews. So anyway, um, that's all I've got for the day.
Okay.
Okay. Um, oh, well, I do have one more thing. Unpopular opinion.
Okay.
Just
What is it?
okay. This is one more. I'll go with this one here. Get this one off my chest too. There in the United States today, there's no such thing as a banned book. You can
No, there's
buy
not.
any book you want to buy. It doesn't matter what kind of book it is. You may have to hunt and dig and maybe buy it uh, from another country, but there are no books that are illegal in the United States to own. There is no such thing as a banned book.
This is true.
There are books that public libraries and that school libraries, by local community standards, are not allowed to be purchased using tax dollars or handed out to, especially in schools, are not allowed to be given to children. But the book's not banned. If you as a parent want your child to buy it to read My Shadow is Purple, you
Or
can go
Minecraft or whatever.
to Amazon and buy that book. You can go to Books a Million. You can go to a dozen different places. This is an argument I've been in now for 3 days on the internet over banned books. Penguin has been pushing these ads. I've been seeing them a lot on the internet about books that are being banned, and if you write them and tell them which one of these books off of this list, they will send it to you for free because they are against book banning.
Great way to sell books.
Now, Penguin, I will never buy another book from Penguin if I can help it. That's been published through Penguin Publishing. Because one, you're lying your asses off. There is no such thing as a banned book, as I've said before. There are books which are not allowed to be purchased with tax dollars. There are books which are, and placed into libraries for children to read. It's not like they're banning Huckleberry Finn or Tom Thumb. They're not banning Tom Sawyer. They're not banning The Great Gatsby. They're not banning Uncle Tom's Cabin. These are all books the left has banned in the past.
Yeah.
I can remember when you couldn't go in the public library and get a Bible because of quote unquote separation of church and state, and because libraries are tax supported, they weren't allowed to have Bibles in there because you weren't allowed to buy a Bible with tax dollars. Yeah, I remember that argument being made, people. But you could buy the Koran. Because there weren't that many Muslims in the United States, so they weren't really supporting a religion by buying that. They were educating people on a minority religion. That's why it was in the allowed to be bought. But since Christianity is a majority position within the United States, buying the Bible and putting it into the libraries, using the tax dollars to buy them, that was supporting a religion and violated the separation of church and state, which is not in the Constitution, by the way, people. Just in case, but I know the people that listen to me are smart enough to know that the violation of church and state was a line, a idea taken from writings of Thomas Jefferson to a church. Had nothing to do with what was actually in the Constitution. It just happened to make it into law through the Supreme Court. But if you want to say that, if you're upset, if you're angry, if you so much want your 8-year-old child to read My Shadow is Purple, or Mary's Two Mommies, or Jimmy's Two Daddies, or whatever book is being popular and pushed that's uh, affecting a certain lifestyle and has explicit sex in it. Use your own damn money and go buy it. Don't expect tax dollars to be used to support pornography. Do you want penthouse letters in your library for your 6-year-old to read? It's the same thing. You really can't tell the difference between some of the stuff written in penthouse letters than the stuff written in these books. There's not a whole heck of a lot of difference. So again, my unpopular opinion, there's no such thing as book banning in the United States. It's books that are not allowed in local libraries because of they're for children, and these are not children's books. There used to be a standard violations of community standards.
Yeah, that was a while ago, though, wasn't it?
And that was a legitimate thing. I mean, you didn't want to go into an Amish community and build a titty bar because that'd violate local standards. And you may go broke except during
Springer.
Ramen Springer. Thank you, because I was drawing a blank there. Okay. But you didn't want to go into, you don't go into a dry county and try to put up a bar or a dry township. Yeah, I grew up in a dry township. They couldn't even sell Morgan David wine.
Mogan David.
Morgan David wine, right. Couldn't even sell that. And that was about the weakest stuff on the market. Near beer was even illegal in my home township because it had an alcoholic content. So, yeah, okay. Oh, Ram, no, I've seen Quran. We had a Quran in my high school library back in 1978. Now, it was in the restricted reading area. You had to be approved by the by the head librarian to get into that area to get that book out. And usually, what they did is they asked your parents. You had to get, they got in contact with your parents first. But yeah, the Quran was in my high school library back in '78. Tyre, that's the big issues. The question though now is what is appropriate. I mean, with these books that they're talking about now being age appropriate, they're talking about fellatio. They talk about cunnilingus. They talk about anal sex. And books written for 7 and 8 year olds. They talk about, I mean, when you have teachers talking to kindergartners about whether or not they're a boy or a girl, that's what's going on in our schools today. And that's what people are fighting back against, and that's what's being told that we're banning books and we're banning thought. I mean, we've all of us have seen the YouTube videos and the TikToks and everything else of parents reading from some of these books and being arrested or being kicked out of school board meetings or having their microphones shut off. That's not appropriate. Well, if it's not appropriate for you to hear, well, how is it appropriate for my second grader to be reading it? If it's not appropriate to be said in polite company of a school board meeting, how in the hell is it appropriate for my second grader to be reading it? Or my fifth grader to be reading it? Or even my eighth grader to be reading it? When it was sixth or seventh grade is when we had the sex ed class in my when I went to school, and it was the typical. All the girls went to one uh, room with the female teacher. All the boys went to another with the male teacher. And most of the stuff you talked about was about male puberty, and then for the boys class and the girls class talked about the female puberty and everything that entitled and everything that happened there. And that was one or two class sessions long, maybe 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly, but it was at least 2 class sessions long. And yes, parents had the opportunity to opt you out of that class. You just went to study hall those days. Went and sat in the library. So anyway, okay. Now I am going to end this up here now. Okay, unless Dar, you got anything you want to bring up?
No, not really. I mean, I'm just kind of, yeah, no, got nothing.
You got anything to bring up here today?
No, not really.
Let's see here.
Got a few more minutes to go before noon, though, so we should talk about something.
Okay, ramen. Okay, let's see. With our 7th grade class, they had us get signed permission slips. We went the Intrepid, then the floating hospital.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much sex ed classes, more about birth control and cutting myths about birth control and conception.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember how the joke goes anymore. It used to be the about the rhythm method. Other than what do you call couple who uses the rhythm method? Parents.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, see, like my sex ed classes in school were more about contraception and stuff, and now, the myths surrounding about how girls get pregnant and blah blah blah. Of course, when I was in high school, it was kind of weird because most of the freshman girls had to drop out to go home and have their babies, and then what would happen as soon as they're who made them pregnant graduated high school, they get married, then they would come back to school. So when I was at school, in high school, the amount of girls you had to date was pretty limited because most of them were married. So that kind of made for, you know, slim pickings for prom dates and stuff.
Yeah.
Just saying. So,
Oh.
but that's what happens when you go to high school out in the country. So, but
We
but
only
I'll
had
tell you
one
what.
girl. We only had one girl in my class come up pregnant in high school, and that
Well,
was senior year after the prom.
Most of the girls were pregnant before they went to high school. So what they would do is they would stay home, raise the kid. When the father graduated high school, they would get married, and then she would come back to high school. So she wouldn't be pregnant; she'd just be married. So most of the girls in my high school were older and married.
So you had a lot of 20-year-old graduates, huh? 19 and 20-year-old graduates.
Yeah, I had a lot of 17, 18, 19-year-old freshmen. So that's just how it went. But it was
like
kind
I
of
said,
cool.
we only had one girl.
People that were old enough to buy alcohol. So
Yeah, at least back in the good old days when you had to only be 18 to buy it.
well, in some states you only had, like Colorado, if you were 18, you could have 3-2 beer. But for regular booze, you still had to be 21. So
Okay, wait a second. What's this? Yeah, my class did not have pregnant teenagers. We had one, and like I said, she got caught. She got pregnant on prom night,
yeah,
and that was a major scandal. That was
we
a
had
seriously
lots of them.
We only had 2 scandals with my class in my 4 years of high school. The girl that got pregnant, and the son of the richest farmer in the township got caught selling animal tranquilizers. Uh, and he got that what was that, PCP,
Yeah.
and he got the sheriffs brought him to school every day, dropped him off, picked him up every night after school, took him back to jail. So he graduated with us. I mean, he didn't, obviously he didn't go through graduation ceremonies, but he did graduate high school while in jail. They brought him into class every day, picked him up, and took him back to jail every night. And that was the uh, he did he got a 2 year no, he got a 1 year sentence. So that's how he spent his year, going back and forth between the jail and the school. So um I'm going to be I got some Baldur's Gate done yesterday. I could not believe it. I cleared out 3 areas. I'm down in I'm just hitting every area there is on the map before I go up and finish it out. So I'm having a lot of fun with the first Baldur's Gate. I'm going to almost be sad to finish this and go into Baldur's Gate 2. 'Cause remembering how much fun the first Baldur's Gate was. You guys, if you I highly recommend the first one. I forgot how this enhanced edition on off of Steam. I highly recommend playing it because it is a blast. So that uh, I really can't wait to get into 2 and 3. Yes, Raman, I know you're waiting on me to get to wipe them out, but so anyway, well, that's all I got, ladies and germs and gents and Ramen. But everybody, try to have a good day.
Oh, Lord.
Where's the wisdom there, Dar?
Yeah, keep your powder dry. Buy guns and ammo.
All right. And as always, be with the ones you love the ones that you're with. I will not be streaming tomorrow. I'm visiting the gentleman that likes to put needles and knives into my legs, so I will not be streaming tomorrow, but I'll be back on Thursday. So y'all have a good day, enjoy yourselves, and be with the ones you love the ones that you're with, and have fun.